And we welcome you on into another episode of the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell and Mitchell Balla here to give you the latest in the world of athletics. It's going to be back here with you, Mitch. Happy 60th episode.
Wow, 60 already.
60 in the books.
Happy 60 then. Happy 60th.
I mean, it's fascinating. We do this as a twice a week episode. What do you think is the point where it's like, I know usually the 100th episode in a show is usually the one where everybody gets to it, but since we do this twice a week, what do you think is the one where it's like you see the number cross and you go, wow, I can't believe we made it?
Whatever the number would be if we make it for a year straight. I think that, so if it's 2 a week, 52 weeks, so it'd be 104.
I was going to say we started in August of last year, or just late August, early September. So once we hit about April, I'm trying to think, I mean, 52. Yeah, it would be right around the 108th episode, maybe. I would think. So yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, we hope you guys. What was that?
A couple special episodes in there. I think. I think we've got a couple specials. So anywhere from 104 to 110, I think would be the mark.
You reminded me of that. Yeah, I was going to say, but yeah, we hope, first of all, we thank you all for staying with us for this long, if you're still here, and we hope you stay with us for another 60 and then another 60 after that. So we want to get into some topics today. Before we do that, we want to remind you guys, obviously, that you can follow us here on YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud, or go to our website, bigtimesportsohio.com. You can find our latest articles, game broadcasts, and videos there. You can also check out us on Facebook and Instagram, Big Time Sports Ohio, and then Twitter at BTS Ohio, and then pretty much everywhere at Mitch Spinell, Spinell, Mitchell Balla, Balla. So Mitchell Balla. Let's talk about the games. The crop of games that we had last night were very, very interesting, and the ones that see many of the local teams make it to the district finals on the boys' side. One in particular was a standout in that a 12 seed has upset a number 2 seed in the division, if I'm not mistaken, district semifinals. Brush, the Arcs of Brush, beating Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary in a very tightly knit game. Just a few weeks after Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary had a comfortable win over the Arcs. So, Mitch, I mean, take me through that one, man. This is a fascinating development. And now Brush has the opportunity to make some serious smoke in the East tournament.
The 13-10 overall Brush Arcs, may I add, Mitch, they took out St. Vincent St. Mary last night, who was the number 2 overall seed in the Division I Super District. Now, this is the Northeast 3 bracket. So Brush, you mentioned, had just lost 58-40 a few weeks ago to St. Vincent St. Mary last night. And listen, Brush at 13-10, Mitch, that record does not really show you how good they are. They played a very tough schedule, and the reason, so they could be battle tested for games like last night. Brush is very talented. They have a Pitt commit on that team. I believe they also have a Kent State recruit on that team. They're flooded with talent. But you're talking about St. Vincent St. Mary, Division II state champs. They have run Division II for years. Now they hop up to Division I this year. And Mitch, they did not really struggle all year. And it had kind of been a thought that, St. V's is going to show that it doesn't matter what division they're in. They're going to run this thing until they, meet a foe, potentially Stowe, a team that beat them in the regular season. That was the only seed higher than them in the Super District. But no, not anymore. Last night, Brush defeats Akron St. Vincent St. Mary 42-37 in the Division I Northeast 3 District semifinal game. Brush advances as the 12 seed. They are the highest remaining seed left in the field for Division I out of the Northeast 1, 2, and 3 bracket. And Mitch, I mentioned before, you kind of throw the seeds out once you get to the district round because it just means these teams are playing better than other teams. And you got to experience it last night firsthand. Brush gets revenge on St. V's. And now they await the winner in the Northeast 3 district bracket of Louisville and Walsh Jesuit that's played tonight. Mitch, there were a lot of people that kind of thought we were going to get a St. Vincent St. Mary versus Louisville rematch from last year. Keep in mind, both those teams last year were Division II. They played in the regional final last year, and St. V's ended up, really handedly defeating Louisville in the regional final en route to what was another state championship for the Fighting Irish. That's no longer. Louisville and Walsh Jesuit play tonight at, I believe, Euclid High School.
Yes.
And the winner now will take on Rush, which Brush, Mitch, is not too far from Euclid. So you have to imagine that gym on Saturday when the district championship is played will have more Brush fans there than either Louisville or Walsh Jesuit. Obviously, Walsh Jesuit closer to Euclid High School than Louisville is, but Brush is about a 10 to 15-minute drive. That's a high school that was right behind the campus of college I went to. And Euclid was about a 15-minute drive from campus. So that is going to practically end up being a home game, although they'll be the road team on the scoreboard being a 12 seed. But if you're Brush, you have to feel really great about where you are. You just beat a team that beat you, and now you get to sit back for a night. I would imagine the coaching staff and possibly the players will go to the semifinal game tonight between Louisville and Walsh Jesuit. And you have now a chance to punch your ticket come Saturday to the Sweet 16, which is going to be awesome. But I think the bigger thing here, Mitch, is Brush held St. Vincent St. Mary to 37 points, 21 points less than what St. V scored against them, I believe, on February 11th. That's a huge difference. It would have been something if they would have beat them 61 to 60. But to hold a team that you lost to 58 to 40 to 37 points, which I have to imagine, I don't have the stats or numbers in front of me, is one of their lowest point totals of the season. That's extremely impressive. Hats off to the Brush Arcs. Congratulations on getting the district championship. And really, Mitch, our first big upset that we've seen pulled. We were close in another district bracket, but this one is the actual first upset that's been pulled so far.
No doubt. And some of the numbers I do have here via the News Herald, the Arcs played very good defense, but St. Vincent St. Mary's had a really tough shooting in the first half. They were 3 of 23 in the first half from the field, finished 12 of 54 from the game. That's 22% shooting, which is not a great performance. But, you know, you had some standouts there. You mentioned one of the commits for the Arcs, a Pittsburgh commit for the Brush squad, Marlon Barnes, having 17 points. I just realized when I said that too, I really hope, and this is like no disrespect to Marlon if he's listening to this right now. Do you know of the basketball player known as Bad News Marvin Barnes in the NBA?
I've heard of it.
Played in the
No,
70s. He was a standout. I can't remember what college he played at, but he was with the Celtics for a little bit. I think it was with Buffalo too. I really hope that somebody can make that his nickname if that's not the case, but that's neither here nor there. St. Vincent St. Mary's did make a bit of a run in the second half. They were down 20 to 14 at halftime, and then they ended up taking the lead 37 to 36 at some point in the game. But the Arcs stood strong. They took back the lead with about a minute left, and then they got a wide open look to be able to get a dunk. I believe it was Barnes making that one to make it 40 to 37, and then they just ended up shooting free throws for the rest of the night. So it's a great win for them. They either going to take on a Louisville team they have not yet played this season, who is obviously got one of the top players in the area, Will Aljancic. But then Walsh Jesuit, it's funny, Walsh Jesuit actually handed the Arcs their first loss of the season this year. It was 46 to 39 back on November 27th. And then I went through all the teams that you mentioned, Mitch, that Brush had faced all year. When you see 13 and 10, you're thinking, oh, you know, I mean, it's not really that great a team. You know, they'll be bounced eventually. They took on teams like St. Edwards and lost 54 to 47. Richmond Heights 75 to 70. Richmond Heights is still undefeated, 24-0. You texted me last night. That's insane.
40,
I think they'll be
44 consecutive victories for Richmond Heights, Mitch, and their top three players, sophomores, 2025 grads. The Richmond Heights basketball team, folks, they are ranked 45th nationally in the country. If you have an opportunity to go see Richmond Heights play, I would strongly recommend getting out there because what's going on there is extremely special. There was just a short mini special on WKYC by Nick Camino, Mitch.
All that.
I highly recommend people getting out to see this team play because they are loaded with talent, and their coach in that special, Mitch, talked about the guys don't come in here talking about, oh, we've won 44 in a row. The guys don't come in here talking about we're defending state champions, I believe, in Division 4. It's, hey, let's play basketball. Let's have fun today. And when you play a team, Mitch, that's it, they're that talented and they're that loose. Boy, oh boy. If they can, when they flip a switch, when that ball goes up, that's a dangerous team. And there's a reason they've won 44 consecutive games and they're going for back-to-back state championship wins. You know, obviously they have a few more wins to get, but I'm happy you mentioned that because that's a team, Mitch, that although they're Division 4, I have a hard time believing they wouldn't be able to win a Division 1 state championship with how loaded they are.
It's really unbelievable. We might be seeing a dynasty there here
They beat
in the OHSA level. They beat St. Ed's, and St. Ed's, we mentioned, was one of the teams that Brush lost to. They also ended up losing to Maple Heights, Cincinnati Taft, St. Ignatius, Lutheran East, and then the St. Vincent St.
Yep.
Mary's lost. And it's been a while since we've seen St. Vincent St. Mary's not be able to get out of the district round. So we won't see the all-time winningest program back here in the tournament. So, or one of the all-time leading ones. So with that, we also have a number of games to get to later on tonight, or some of the ones we'll recap first. I was in Edison last night, brand new Edison facilities, by the way. Shout out to Edison High School for your new gym. It's unbelievable the facilities they got there, like glass walls separating the concourse from the gym. You could literally walk on there if they weren't there. They have a healthy amount of seats, track up above the thing, walking track. And then they have this little press suite, like this glass press suite that you can see right over the court. So it's pretty cool. But we saw East Liverpool last night stage a rally against Carrollton. Carrollton, one of the hotter teams getting into the division, into the East District tournament, but they were up 36-27 with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. And then the Potters outscored them 20-7 over the last 11 minutes. They played very good defense down the stretch. They had a really good fast break defense. It never seemed like Carrollton was able to go up and get easy attempts at layups because they would always find they always get pickpocketed on the in transition, or they would play them up really well in the glass. And then you had Preston Kerr, an 11-point performance for the Potters. They spread out their scoring mostly throughout the game. Jackson Rinkus had 15 points, and all of them came in the first half. He was held scoreless. He had a look at near the end of the game from the top of the key to give Carrollton a 1-point lead. It missed. East Liverpool got the ball back. They ran out the clock. And then you had guys like Lincoln Malarney, who had a night that wasn't as fruitful as some of his ones in the past. 7 of his 13 total points came in the final quarter. He had 7 points for Caden Smith. But Liverpool pulling out that victory, and they're going to take on a Maysville squad that beat Indian Valley last night. And Maysville, very good on this season, only 1 loss on the year. They're the team that handed Malvern their only loss so far with this season coming up. But very good wins there. You also have the seasons come to an end for, as we mentioned, Indian Valley at the hands of Maysville. And then Nathan Walker scored 25 points, including his 1,000th career point, as John Glenn beat New Philadelphia in the East District semis for Division II. So now the Muskies will go play Tri-Valley in the East District Finals on Saturday in Zanesville. With that, you have a number of games left, a lot of Federal League teams still in the mix, Mitch. Take us through some of these matchups, because one of them is going to be our feature here tonight on Big Time Sports.
And so for the viewers, once again, Mitch, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And for the listeners out there, I will make sure that I do my best ability of, breaking it down for you. So we already touched on Northeast District 3, right? Louisville Walsh Jesuit tonight at Euclid High School. The winner will play Brush. Louisville, a Stark County team. Will Al Jancic, who, by the way, Mitch, another congrats to him. This kid has been getting many congrats all year long, but he had his number retired while he's still playing for the impact he has left at Louisville High School. That he is it's hard to say once in a generational player, Mitch, but what he's been able to do over his career at Louisville, it sure looks like he's a once in a generation player for the Louisville Leopards. And he's another player at this level that's worth the price of admission to go watch play basketball. Finley, the University of Finley, is getting a steal out of him. We'll see if he can help his team to a district championship game tonight. But you mentioned some Federal League teams left, Mitch. Let's start in Division I, Northeast District 1. Last night, you had Nordonia hold off the late surge from Menor, 64-58. Nordonia, the 3rd overall seed in the Super District, the number 1 seed in the Northeast District 1 bracket. This is their first district championship game in over a decade. So congrats to Nordonia. They sit back and wait now, Mitch, and they will watch Akron Hoban take on Glen Oak tonight in the district semifinals at Twinsburg High School. Glen Oak, one of the 3 Federal League teams remaining. Glen Oak defeated Hoban 60-59 earlier this year off of Ja'Cory Lipkin's tip-in at the buzzer off his own miss. Hoban's going to be looking for revenge. They are the 4 seed, Glen Oak, the 7 seed. This will be a very evenly matched game, I believe. Hoban has the edge in terms of experience, Mitch. This is a team that won their district championship last year in the same gym over Jackson. They returned a lot of those players, so we'll see what they do tonight. But Glen Oak, Mitch, with Corey Lipkins, and then the younger players, someone like Bryce Broom, if he gets going from outside, we saw the damage Glen Oak can do in the Federal League this year. Glen Oak might be able to spring the upset again and move on to the district championship and take on a tough Nordonia Knights team. We'll have to wait and see. The other Division I Northeast District bracket is Northeast District 2, which is now pulled up on the screen. Mitch, the number 1 overall seed in the Super District, the Stowe Bulldogs, survive. They had a tough game. They win last night 75-67 over the 14th seeded Paynesville Riverside team. That game was a lot closer than just an 8-point victory for Stowe. And keep in mind, Stowe is a team that lost in the district championship to Green last year and returned all their starters. In fact, they returned a couple guys off the bench. This is a team that's loaded with experience, and they're not all seniors, which is another reason to be afraid of Stowe, because they're going to be back at a high level next year once again. But Stowe now will get to sit back and relax and await the winner of the Big Time Sports Game of the Week tonight at Alliance High School. There will also be a live stream on BigTimeSportsOhio.com. The 6th seeded Green Bulldogs versus the 9th seeded Jackson Polar Bears, the trilogy. These two teams, co-Federal League champions this year, Mitch. Jackson winning earlier this year at Jackson 54-32 on December 2nd. Green then beating Jackson 55-53 on January 13th. The difference, though, in those two matchups, Jackson beat Green the first time this year. That was Green's first game of the season. They were also without star Nick Bundalo, who is now returned to the team. He was away for the team for a couple weeks, dealing with some personal things. He's back now, Mitch, a 6'8" forward that can shoot and dribble the basketball, and he comes off the bench for Green. Think about that, off the bench. A kid that has Division I offers already, and he comes off the bench for the Green Bulldogs. And Jackson, although it has not been released yet, it has been confirmed. It has not been released to the public. So I'm going to break some news here. Jackson with the Federal League Player of the Year, Owen Wolbert. The 6'7" center for Jackson is the Federal League Player of the Year. And there will be a test for him tonight, as Nick Bundalo will be one of the many Bulldogs assessed with the task of guarding him. The second time Jackson met Green this year, Luke Jansen, Mitch, someone that's often overlooked for Green, a post presence that doesn't have the height, but he has the size down low. He was able to hold Wolbert to a quiet game. And really, can he do that again tonight? And now can Nick Bundalo come off and duplicate his performance from that January 13th win over Jackson tonight at Alliance High School? Mitch, these two teams are familiar with each other. These two coaches are just some of the best coaches in Northeast Ohio. Mark Kinsley, one of the top coaches, Coach Tim DeBevic, who also is taking home Federal League honors this year as the Federal League Coach of the Year, has done a phenomenal job after a disappointing season last year for Jackson. There's not going to be anything new these two teams can pull out. And that's what's going to be great, is you have two teams that I believe are evenly matched because they were co-league champions. They won on their own home floor this year. You go to a neutral site tonight, the winner advances to the district championship game on Saturday at 2 at Alliance to take on Stowe. And Mitch, both of these teams, Jackson to Green, played Stowe this year and both lost on their own home floors to Stowe. So both these teams won a revenge shot at Stowe, but they have to get through each other tonight. And this is going to be a very entertaining game. Like I said, there's nothing new you can pull out on each other. It's basically going to come down to who shoots the basketball the best, who limits their turnovers, and really who's going to be able to lock down the other team's best player. Because we know from seeing these two teams all season long on Big Time Sports, Green has the likes of Jarrett Taylor. Green has the likes of Brady Rollison and Nick Bundalo. All three of those players can hurt you from inside or outside. Then Jackson, Owen Wolbert, a 6'7" center that's averaging 14.5 points and 8.5 rebounds. Mitch Finnefrock, Mitch, we saw him, what he did in the opening round for Jackson, 7 3-point shots in the first half. He hit 3 at Green on January 13th to keep Jackson in that game when Green was trying to pull away. And then Kyle Monterubio, a second-team All-Federal League player, the sophomore lefty. This is going to be a blast. And if you can, get out to Alliance to watch good basketball. If not, Big Time Sports will have a live stream of that, and then you can watch the replay later this weekend. But I'm excited. I will be out at Alliance tonight. And I think what's more intriguing here, Mitch, is Can one of these two teams, whoever wins tonight, knock off a team that really no one's been able to beat this year in the Stowe Bulldogs come Saturday?
Should be a good one at Harry Fail Stadium. And I want to correct myself from earlier because I might have incorrectly stated that Maysville was going to play Tri-Valley in the district finals in Zanesville. If I did say that, then I'm mistaken, because that game, it's ironic that Maysville just beat Indian Valley. So now they will head to Janadenhutton for Saturday's district final against.
And Mitch.
Yes.
One more thing before
Sure.
we move to Tusk. Want to make sure we cover all the Stark teams. I've done a poor job in recognizing two of them. The St. Thomas Aquinas Knights, their season ended earlier this week in the district semifinals. Canton Central Catholic Crusaders, though, Mitch, are alive and will play for a district championship tomorrow night, Friday, March 3rd, at Worcester High School at 7:00, where they will take on the top seed Norwayne in the Division III Northeast District 5 district championship. So another Stark County team still alive outside the other teams of Jackson, Green, Glen Oak, and Alliance. So best of luck to Canton Central Catholic.
Another game I'm interested in is in the Northeast 3 district in Division 2. Well, first of all, the matchup that we have in the district semis is Villa Angela St. Joe's, the 18 seed, playing 10 seeded Rocky River. Whoever wins tonight will face on Saturday the 3rd seeded Akron Buchtel squad. So I'm very curious to see what that team will be able to do, or what any of those teams will be able to do. We're covering our tracks here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show, and we'll be back right after these commercial messages. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Buying a home has never been so affordable with record low interest rates. Hartzler's Quality Housing is ready to put over 40 years of experience to work for you. Family owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's has a wide selection of model homes on site with a knowledgeable team to help make your new home a reality. Open 6 days a week. Visit them off I-77 in Dover or online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
Vive Auto Sales, located on West High Avenue in New Philadelphia and Cleveland Avenue in Canton, is a used car dealership committed to getting financing for everyone. We give every customer that walks in our showrooms a prime buying experience, no matter their credit score or financial situation. Current inventory can be viewed at www.wefinancenow.com. Check out our Facebook pages for the most up-to-date information about upcoming events and promotions happening at Vive Auto Sales.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell alongside Mitchell Balla. Mitch, there's no way around it. I mean, the score wouldn't tell you last night that the Cleveland Cavaliers were severely outmatched against the Boston Celtics. But when you look at a final that saw them lose, what was it, 117 to 113 in Boston on Wednesday night, it just wasn't a good matchup for Cleveland that I unfortunately think may have officially finalized the separation between the contenders in the East and the pretenders. Not to say the Cavaliers are a full-on pretender, but there were some serious causes for concern last night, especially with the scare that we had from all-star guard Donovan Mitchell, who, again, it seems like that groin injury is really nagging him on more than it's been led up to until this point.
Mitch, the first quarter and second quarter, really the first half, the Cavs came to play. The Cavs were neck and neck with Boston. This is a team that they've had 2 overtime games with this season, and they were 2-0 against previously. Then the third quarter happened, where they were outscored 41-26. And really, that was it, Mitch. That was the difference in the game. The Cavs in the third quarter got outplayed so bad. They only had 4 rebounds. Mitch, the Cavs are known for having 2 7-footers to meet at the rim. Like if you're driving offensively, that alter shots and then clean up the boards. And last night, the Cavs were not able to do that. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley were bullied last night. Now, Robert Williams for the Celtics did not play in the first 2 meetings earlier this season against the Cavs, in which the Cavs won both. And he looked like he made a difference last night for sure, because now Al Horford got to go back to the power forward position. And by the way, Al Horford, I mean, I can't believe this dude. I feel like I can't believe he's still playing every single time I see him on the floor. 8 of 10 last night, 6 of 8 from 3, has 23 points to go alongside the all-star small forward Jason Tatum with 41. But I agree with you. I think last night kind of showed you the separation between the Cavs and the Celtics. And it also showed you, now both benches last night, Mitch, I believe had 12 points off the bench, or excuse me, the Cavs had 14 points off the bench and the Celtics had 12. So the benches weren't really a factor. Donovan Mitchell, 44 points, Jason Tatum, 41. The Cavs, though, Mitch, it is going to be apparent here down the stretch, especially in the playoffs, if the Cavs win their first round series and advance to take on the likes of either the Celtics or the Bucks. The Cavs messed up at the trade deadline. At the same time, I don't know who they could have gotten, but Jason Tatum took over a game last night, which, Mitch, he had scored a lot against the Cavs in previous games, but it was never effortlessly. Last night, it looked effortless. 13 of 21 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3 for 41 points. They don't have a player that can guard Jason Tatum. Isaac Okoro is too small. Jason Tatum can shoot over him. And as soon as we put Evan Mobley on him, Tatum would either drive past the big or create separation or rise for a jump shot. And we saw this before with Kevin Durant when he was on the net still. The Cavs had nobody. Granted, I understand Kevin Durant is pretty much unguardable because of the size and athleticism he has. But my point still stands. You had nobody to really contest a shot with him. And right now, the Cavs have nobody to contest a shot of Jason Tatum. Donovan Mitchell tried last night. He's still too small. Okoro's too small. LeVert does not play great defense. And Mobley and Allen, Mitch, this is not a knock on them. It's just pure fact. They're too slow. They are big men for a reason. They cannot switch out onto a small forward, a player of the likes of Jason Tatum. And ultimately, I think that is what the difference is between the Cavs and the Celtics and the Bucks and the Cavs, is we are missing a true 3 and D, or more so just a lockdown defender at the 3 position on this Cavaliers team. And unfortunately, if we met Boston, as confident as I was going into the game last night, I don't have much confidence anymore, because I don't know how they possibly stop Jason Tatum after what I saw last night.
Yeah, I as far as messing up at the trade deadline. I don't know. I agree with you in the sense of I don't know who we could have gone for, and especially who we could have given up. You couldn't unload Karis LeVert as his stock wasn't at its peak that you wanted it to be able to be confident enough to make that trade. The Kevin Love thing, we just basically just bought him out because his stock was so low, and you don't want to give away too much because that could disrupt some serious chemistry that we've seen. When it's good in this season, it can be great, but I think it's just more of so of a case of youth right now. I mean, do you look at some of these things here, and I'm pulling up this ESPN piece from Tim Bontemps. It's mostly just these Cavaliers, this core of Mitchell, Garland, Allen. I even throw a Coro in there, and then Mobley as well. They don't just have a lot of great contending experience. Donovan's the only one that's ever gotten to the second or gotten past the first round of the postseason, if you don't count Kevin Love, because he's not on the team anymore. These guys have only made it to the play-in tournament, essentially. And I think it's more so a case of just still trying to grow as you still have three juggernauts in the East that have so much playoff experience. I mean, you've seen Philadelphia make it far in the playoffs. Boston's made the finals. Milwaukee's won the finals. These are just the three the three roadblocks specifically that you have to get past. And it's possible to get past these roadblocks before. I mean, we saw a few years ago Atlanta getting past Philadelphia in a 7-game series to make the conference finals. Whoever thought that would have happened, but it did. Now, to be fair, I think that the Cavaliers are now essentially playing for the 4 spot, as we kind of talked about on the last podcast. You still have the Knicks in there as the matchup. I disagree with you in the sense that I would much rather play Brooklyn. I mean, I know you said, you didn't say it specifically, but you said, oh, it doesn't matter if it's the Knicks or Nets. I'm still confident. I would much rather face the Nets than the Knicks in a first round series matchup because I think the Knicks can be legitimately scary. I don't think it's a gimme if the Cavaliers face them in the first round of the playoffs. And then you have teams like Miami, Atlanta, and Toronto who are still considerably behind the Cavaliers. So it's really they're playing for 5 and 6. You're focusing on that matchup where I think the lowest the Cavaliers could fall is 6. But then you have to see who could potentially rise up. Could Atlanta under Quinn Snyder be the team that gets things going? Miami, I know they just lost last night, but they still have a quality team that can play some good defense at times. I can't really put Toronto and Washington in there because I don't think those are the teams that can really necessarily be competitive. And we saw the Cavaliers beat Toronto the other night, so I don't think that's the case. It's really a 4-man stave off at this point rather than a race for Cleveland. It's like, okay, just keep these teams below us, and you just have to find your own footing right now. Although the Knicks are the hottest team out of the 4 so far, they have won 7 games in a row, but that's nothing compared to the 16 games in a row that the Milwaukee Bucks have posted. They're 27-5 at home. That is the second or the third best record, or one of the top 3 best home records in the league. They're still 18-12 on the road. They can get things done. They're one of the higher scoring squads, and they've overtaken Boston now. And it really just feels like this team, you don't want to say they're peaking early because I don't think that's the case. I think they're peaking at the exact right time with only 20 some games left in these up until the playoffs. But it's getting to a point where I'm like, okay, does any team have a chance to take down the Bucks if they make it into a second round or conference final matchup?
I don't know if a team does. Keep in mind last year, Mitch, the Celtics beat the Bucks without Chris Middleton. Middleton got hurt and went down. If Middleton plays in that series, I ultimately believe the Milwaukee Bucks would have went to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And I do believe that experience is extremely valuable for the Celtics now to a point where it makes a difference if those two teams match up. I also believe that home court is an even bigger factor now for Milwaukee in the East because Boston simply does not play well in Milwaukee, at least this season. Looking back at years past, I know they won last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, getting a couple games there, but that, like I mentioned, that was also without All-Star Chris Middleton. I just cannot believe the fact they've won 16 in a row. Giannis has been in and out a couple games with a couple nagging injuries. These guys, I mean, everybody's banged up at this point, Mitch. I think it's fair to say everybody has a player banged up on every single team. But Milwaukee is starting to really put themselves up there to remind you how good they are when they're at full strength. And I agree with you. I'd rather play the Nets than the Knicks, but there are still 20-some games for certain teams. The Cavs have 17 games remaining. Their next game is against the Pistons on Friday night. and they will welcome in Boston on Monday night. We'll have to wait and see how those go, but keep in mind March Madness will end before the NBA playoffs start. Could the Knicks be peaking too early? Possibly. Could they also be catching fire at the right time? Absolutely. Because every game down the stretch right now for a team like the Cavs, the Knicks, the Nets, the Heat, anybody in playoff contention or play-in contention literally matters. So they're peaking at the right time. You just have to hope that maybe they would not be as hot as they are right now, winning 7 in a row. Because the way they're doing it, Mitch, they are just absolutely blowing teams out. I mean, they blew out the Nets last night, and as well as the Nets had played after that trade, Mitch, they've now lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And so now you wonder if they're coming back to the pack. I also want to throw out a quick thing. I think the Bulls and the Pacers are going to be the 2 teams fighting for that last playoff spot. I don't believe in the Wizards. I don't think the Wizards will be able to hold on. The Bulls with the win last night. The Pacers have won 2 in a row, and they had 2 big wins. They won at Dallas the other night, holding off Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah.
I think one of those 2 teams will be the team that fights with Washington for that 10th spot and ultimately will overtake them, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Chicago's only 1 game back, Indiana 2 games back of Washington. But to your point of the Cavs being in the 4 seed right now, they're 5 up on Miami, who holds the 7th spot. However, they still play 2 more times in South Beach, which has been kryptonite for the Cavaliers over the past decade, really. But they're also 6.5 up on Atlanta, and then Toronto, Washington. There's really no realistic possibility they would be able to get back and fight with the Cavs to hop up above them. But it's going to be intriguing now down the line because the Cavs have some big time games remaining in the last 17. All I know, Mitch, they have to handle business against these bad teams. You play Charlotte, I believe, 2 or 3 more times. LaMelo Ball out for the season. You have to take care of business there.
Yeah.
You have to take care of business of the Chicago Bulls, who you're better than when you play them this month or in April. You also have Orlando twice. They're not a good basketball team. You have some good teams in there remaining. Boston 1 more time, Miami twice, I believe, Milwaukee and Philly. Those are going to be big time games. But if the Cavs just beat the teams they need to beat and should beat, I believe they'll be held in the 4th spot firmly, unless the Knicks just never lose again this regular season.
Well, you mentioned the Knicks. The 3 out of the next 4 games are going to be tests because the 7-game winning streak has been some good teams in there, some really not. It's been Utah, Brooklyn, at Atlanta, at Washington, against New Orleans, against Boston, and against Brooklyn. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Then you have the 3 of the next 4 games at Miami, at Boston, then Charlotte, and then at Sacramento. I'll even go 4 or 5 and say at the Clippers. So those are 4 out of 5 playoff caliber teams that you could be facing off here in the next couple of games. But I'm curious to see if the Knicks perception will change here in the next coming weeks, because I think even though they've had a more successful season than in the past, if they get a couple of games in here, you might get some more of the national media getting their attention again, because I know that they like to eat up the New York sports teams. So it's like, could the Knicks be a serious contender in the East? Which I know it might annoy some people, but for me, I'm like, good for them. They've been clowned on for so long.
Listen, as great, and this is no shot, Damian Lillard, I think right now, Mitch, is the hottest guard in the NBA in terms of scoring. I don't know if there's anybody closer to him right now than Jalen Brunson of the Knicks. And really, I think there was a lot of people in the offseason that said, this is the Knicks getting desperate, throwing big money at a guy that really isn't an all-star. And Mitch, Jalen Brunson has been as good as he possibly could have been so far this season. And he is a large part of why they have won 7 in a row and would be the reason I'm frightened from the New York Knicks now, because it just shows you he can match up on a night last night with Donovan Mitchell anytime he wants, much like Mitchell tried to match Tatum. And that's a battle I don't think the Cavs want to get into.
4 out of the last 7 games, Brunson has been the team leader in points. His lowest per game total of that stretch, 28 points. He had a 40 bomb the other night, 38 points, 39 points. He also had Julius Randle drop 46 in the game against Washington. He and Mitchell Robinson have been crashing the boards for the Knickerbockers. All right, so when we come back, we'll go more with the combine starting, some very interesting developments there. We'll also go into some college basketball later on in the show and more right after this.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's F-U-R-B-A-Y. The Furby Electric Supply Company.
You asked for it and we listened. Buckeye Career Center is now offering Certified Nail Technician as an adult education program. This 216-hour course begins in November and will run Tuesday through Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Learn manicures, pedicures, infection control, salon operations, and more. Other part-time certification courses starting this fall include phlebotomy and welding. Call 330-339-2288 to register or visit BuckeyeCareerCenter.org for more information.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
And we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Manel alongside Mitchell Ballas. So, Mitch, let's go over now to the Combine because we have a number of things to talk about in these coming weeks leading up to the NFL Draft. We'll see where the teams will go in terms of their picks. Not so much the Browns because they don't have a first-round pick this year, but they'll have some in the later rounds as well. We'll see where Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud goes, where Bryce Young is going to end up. But there is a story that has broken out over the last couple of days, and it's kind of like what we talked about last week with the situation in Alabama basketball. It's not one that we would like to talk about, but it is one of the highlighting stories at this rate as the Combine begins. The situation going on with University of Georgia tackle Jalen Carter is unique because there's different perspectives coming at this story of how he was released on reckless driving and racing charges stemming from a situation back on January 15th. And I do remember when this news first broke back, what was it, almost a month and a half ago, where there was a car crash involving the deaths of Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock and a recruiting analyst for Georgia, Chandler LaCroix. So now it looks as if those two, along with Carter, were subject to speeding on the highway. Basically, it looked like they were trying to like race each other. And that situation was, for those who haven't seen it, they were racing after leaving downtown Athens back on January 15th around 2:30 a.m. LaCroix was driving with Willock, and then Carter was by himself. And then LaCroix and Willock's car was going like 104 miles per hour. It leaves the roadway. It strikes a couple of power poles and several trees. And then police said in a Wednesday press release that LaCroix's vehicle was, they said that Carter had been at the scene when it crashed. He's about a mile or so away. He left, then came back and gave police, I guess, some sort of statement. They said it might have been back and forth or kind of changing that. It wasn't. I wasn't. I'm still trying to get the details of that correctly. But then Carter, the news broke this week during the combine. He turned himself into police. Carter did. He released a statement on Wednesday saying that he intended to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against him and to make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. Now, Carter was booked at 11:33 p.m. on Wednesday night and released at 11:49 p.m. 16 minutes later, after paying a $4,000 bond for the two charges. He is now returned to Indianapolis for combine events, it seems. So it's a very kind of strange ground that people are stepping on right now in Indianapolis, to where there's some people saying like, oh, this could affect his draft stock, so this guy should be put in jail, he was breaking the law. And I'm trying to navigate this as best I can, to where Carter did commit some crimes in the sense of, what was it here? Reckless driving and racing. There's no doubt about that. You can't pin what happened to Willock and LaCroix on him, because LaCroix was driving the car, and apparently, and this is not to say like, oh, this means it was absolutely justified of what happened. LaCroix's reported blood alcohol concentration was 0.197 at the time of the incident. It's an unfortunate situation. It's a tragic situation, and it goes to show how careful, even at a young age, you got to be when you're in these types of scenarios in life, when you're not even when you're a highly touted upcoming NFL draft prospect, just being a young person in general, you got to be careful not to be getting yourself involved in these situations, which can happen, unfortunately, at the most unexpected times.
Right. And it is an extremely tragic situation. I believe that, the police officers and the department are just trying to do their due diligence and looking into every single possible avenue. And to your point, though, Mitch, he was not the driver.
No.
Obviously, there's suspicion there. Like you mentioned, he was about a mile away. He returned to the scene to give a statement. If he was there when it crashed, it's why didn't he stay? All these questions that have to be asked. It also raised a red flag, because yesterday Carter was supposed to speak to media, and 30 minutes before, they had said it was canceled. Then the report came out that he had a warrant out for his arrest, and they had taken him from Indianapolis to fly him back home to Athens, Georgia. He also said in that statement, Mitch, that he, quote, he expects to be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing, end quote. I believe that he went back because he knew it was the right thing to do. Wouldn't be shocked if his camp was also telling him, hey, you need to go take care of this. Mm-hmm. This is a guy, Mitch, that some people have going as a top 5 pick. If not, he's going to be a first round pick as it stood before this news broke. And it's tough because you've seen before stories get put out about players in years past that try to hurt their draft value, maybe so a team can get them, where this is not a case in that, in my opinion. This is an actual case, a legal matter going on, that they're just trying to do their due diligence and get answers from the families, that lost their loved ones. But to your point, Mitch, I agree with you. And I kind of go along with Carter's statement where he expects to be exonerated of all criminal wrongdoing. We'll have to wait and see, but I mean, football related, this is tremendous talent. This is a guy that, 100% deserves to be taken within the first 10 picks of the NFL draft. Like I mentioned, some have him going 5, but we know this is a quarterback heavy league, so you never know what teams are going to trade up to take quarterbacks, but we'll have to wait and see. I also think the other thing to see is, how does he perform at the combine now? Now that he's out on bail and he goes back, and you have these off the field issues. We talked about Miller from Alabama last week and the issues going on there with Darius Miles and the accomplice for dropping the gun off, however you want to think. He's went on to block out all the noise and perform at a high level. How does Carter perform now at the combine, knowing eyes are on him as a player and also on him for what he does off the field? We'll have to wait and see. This is where a lot of things get broken down and a lot of questions come up about players, their size, their athleticism, the whole 9 yards. So I'm interested to see what he does this weekend in Indianapolis at the combine.
That is a possibility too, because even though we're a month and a half removed from that incident, when it comes up in the public like this, that can trigger a sort of psychological reaction that can really affect not just your mental state in that moment, but your physical state as well. I mean, I can only imagine having the weight of that sort of public pressure when you're trying to showcase yourself for these NFL teams. And I don't know what these teams are going to think when they go into this stock. I think we're at a point in time now, or not just with sports, but with society, where we don't take into stock as much as we used to particular actions pertaining to the law when it comes to these players. It used to be a big thing back in the day for, and I'm not saying, and I'm not comparing these two actions when I make this example, but you would hear the case of, oh, this player was caught smoking marijuana at a party one night, and that used to tank a guy's draft stock. Everyone would be like, oh, wait, hold on, we don't know about this guy, we don't know we can do this.
Pencil.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that there's a theory that might have been on purpose too, but that was a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But nowadays, we kind of, again, doing drugs, being in an incident like this, different things. Not trying to compare the two. But we try to find that we try more now, excuse me. We try nowadays more to find the gray area and what would initially have been black and white situations like this in the past in people's minds. I've heard conflicting reports saying that this could be a wait and see situation for certain NFL GMs. This could be a case where he's so good. I mean, he was number one on somebody's draft board. He's top 5, at least considered on most draft boards. He might be special enough in the case where he can survive, even if this is the worst of this story comes out. I mean, look who's the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns right now. I mean, 40 allegations would have tanked 99% of NFL players. But that's where Deshaun Watson is right now. Again, not trying to compare that to Carter's situation as well. I'm going to find it fascinating to see which team is going to take the chance on this, because he's a very good player, and you also have to see what's going to develop in this case. You might see some misdemeanor charges, because I believe they are misdemeanors at this point. And the biggest thing that I'm curious about right now is that Carter apparently did not, in his meetings with teams, did not disclose, if I'm getting this right, did not disclose this situation with teams. But I have to make sure I get that correct.
And if that's the case, that can be a giant red flag to some organizations, Mitch. You know, there's teams that don't put up with this, right? There are stable organizations in the NFL year in, year out. When you think they're on a down year, they are such a great organization that does not tolerate off the field issues or players thinking they are higher than the team. Maybe a team passes up on them, but at the same time, Mitch, you have the combine this weekend. You still have pro days for almost all these players. There are some players that won't be at the combine that are only doing their pro day at the respective university or college. And then you have the draft. There's a lot of time before the draft, Mitch, that things could change, and you could find out that, hey, he's not getting charged at all. Or we could come to find out that there was more to the story that we don't know that ultimately would end up hurting his draft stock. But it coming out now obviously hurts, because all the attention was literally on him 30 minutes before he was supposed to speak to the media, before they announced he was flying back to Athens, Georgia to meet with police. But there's enough time here to where if he believes he is going to be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoings, that it can be proven. If he has a rough, combine, he can perform at his pro day, and we'll wait and see. I mean, there's plenty of time to wait and see what happens with this entire issue involving Jalen Carter.
Okay, I want to make myself clear regarding the talks with Carter and the teams. It was from Yahoo Sports' Charles McDonald, and I wanted to make sure I get this right. He says, quote, right now it's unclear exactly if teams knew the arrest warrant was coming this morning, Wednesday morning, but it does seem to at least caught the NFL Combine a bit off guard. You mentioned following the announcement of the arrest warrant against Carter, the podium interviews with the other defensive linemen present in Indianapolis came to a pause, and Carter never appeared at his podium session with reporters. And then there was a report from CBS Sports HQ. Former NFL GM Rick Spielman broke down the situation, saying if you already spoke with him as a GM or some team official, and he did not bring that situation up, you're going to put a red flag on that, because that could put your team in some serious public pressure and legal pressure if the situation turns out to grow exponentially more than what it is currently in the public eye. We're getting better at dealing with these sort of situations, Mitch. You and I, you yourself more than I. I'm still trying to figure myself out when it comes to this stuff, because the stuff that we like to talk about, or stuff we usually talk about, is stuff like this. The Cleveland Browns, for I believe the 6th time since 1962, the inaugural playing of this game, will be participating in the 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame game this coming late summer against the New York Jets at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. So we will be christening in 3 Hall of Famers on these former teams. Joe Thomas with the Browns, Darrelle Revis, and Joe Klecko for the Jets will be christening their enshrinements with an exhibition game being played in Canton, as if we didn't have more incentive, Mitch, to be trying to get tickets to this event and trying to goad old Mellow Tones into getting us some passes for this special event.
This is going to be awesome, Mitch. I mean, I think most people, maybe not fans of the teams with other Hall of Famers going into the Hall of Fame, but I think outside of that select group, expected the Browns to be here, because it's not often the Browns get a Hall of Famer in. It's very often that they would even have an opportunity to play in a game like this. And by doing this now, you're going to get a giant crowd, because you're an hour away from Cleveland. Here in Northeast Ohio, all around, you're mostly Browns fans, with the exception of, you other fans that are fans of a team in another state. Which
wrong. You can call them wrong. You can call them wrong.
They're wrong. They're wrong. That's all it is. They're wrong. This is going to be fun. Now, listen, if there's anything I know, none of the starters are going to play in this game for the Browns, because Kevin Stefanski doesn't believe in that. And then you wonder why they look so slow in the couple games they start in the season. So no, I don't think Deshaun Watson will be playing. I would love him to, for just one series. I would love to see a number of these guys play, because I think they need it. I think it's been pretty apparent, Mitch, that they need to play. I mean, the Chiefs play in the preseason, and then usually week 1, they look like the Kansas City Chiefs. There's other teams that do it. They look good. Other teams that don't play their starters, and they're rusty the first couple weeks. You've heard Stefanski before say they're rusty. So it's like, then why not put your players in? Injuries are going to happen. It's football. It's a violent sport. But yeah, this place is going to be bleeding orange come August. And then there'll be green mixed in there as well, with the Jets having 2 inductees into the Hall of Fame, and then also their team playing. It's going to be fun. It really is. And tickets are going to be hard to come by. That's for sure.
No doubt. You're also going to get a New York crowd in there coming over from the Meadowlands. That'll probably fill out some of the stadium as well. So I'm very excited to see Joe. Obviously, I'm excited to see many other NFL Hall of Fame names when you come into those events. I mean, do you ever have a situation like that, or an experience where you've ran into some high caliber NFL talent during Hall of Fame week?
I have. I actually had the opportunity to work for the Hall of Fame for a couple summers with a couple friends of mine whose dad worked for the Hall. Not only just players, Hall of Famers or current players, but also just personalities. My top moment, Mitch, still to this day, I think, is having Chris Berman on my golf cart that I got to drive around from the Symphony Center all the way down to the front of the hall for the Hall of Fame picture. Sal Palantonio running into Lovie Smith, escorting Brian Urlacher the year he was inducted, Ray Lewis. I mean, just being around those guys, it was an awesome, special moment. And then you have all the players or former teammates of the inductees that the inductees bring. And so I'm very intrigued to see if Joe Thomas brings every single quarterback he's ever blocked for, because if that's the case, then the Hall of Fame is already going to be out one entire section of tickets.
Pulling out the extra chairs, just bringing out as many as you need. I mean, what would the lineup be for that? Do you line them up in chronological order from all the way from what would have been Derek Anderson all the way to DeShone Kizer, or do you kind of randomize them based on the personalities?
I think you have to go from the very first quarterback he blocked for, which was actually Charlie Fry.
Oh my God, Charlie Fry.
When the Steelers, I believe, blanked the Browns 41-0. That was the first ever Browns game I went to. What a great game to go to. 41-0, I believe, was the final score. So it would have been Charlie Fry, Anderson, Brady Quinn are the next 2. I mean, Mitch, after that, I don't know. I would line it up in order for who you blocked for first to last, but I mean, then you're going to probably have to have guys like stand third and then move all the way to 7th, and then from 7th to 12th, because, it was always a revolving door for Joe Thomas. So I'm not even sure Joe Thomas could reach out to all those quarterbacks, because I'm sure with the amount of space in his phone for contacts, it would probably be full if he had every single quarterback contact in his phone. Because I mean, that dude blocked for had to have been 21 different quarterbacks.
I'm gonna bring this up because you mentioned Charlie Fry. Remember when NFL players used to do commercials for McDonald's? Because I do, and you remember this classic that we have
Yeah.
here. Oh, look at that. Let me see if I can turn the volume up on this thing. Oh my goodness, man. This is taking me back. This was like the first time I ever saw an NFL centric team. I know they'd done that before because they had what's his name? Michael Dean Perry.
Yeah.
On the McDLT on it. Yeah, look at this. Braylon
Edwards.
Oh. Would you like some extra fry? Get it? Because he's a fry. Get it?
I'm glad he's better at doing commercials than he was at playing quarterback.
Yeah, as far as like the crop of Browns quarterbacks, if you have to take Baker Mayfield out and you have to take out Derek Anderson because he was a Pro Bowler, I mean, Charlie was one of the top 5 of that crop.
If you're taking out the first 2 you mentioned, then Brian Hoyer's probably number 3.
Sure. Well, I was going to say Brian Hoyer's probably number 1 out of all of them, but Brian Hoyer, Charlie Fry, and then who else?
Anderson.
Well, I take out Anderson. Yeah.
Okay. So Charlie Fry,
Hoyer and Fry. We got those 2. Tim Couch.
He never. Are we talking Joe Thomas blocked for or just in general?
Oh, you know what? Oh yeah, I don't think about it. Oh yeah, let's cut off to Joe Thomas. So Joe Thomas from Charlie Fry all the way to Kaiser. So we have Hoyer, we have Anderson, we have Fry. I
mean, we were usually just like 2-14, 3-13, or 4-12. I'm trying to think if we had 5-win seasons in there. I'm not putting Johnny Manziel in there just because
I don't think you can. That's what sucks. I don't think you can.
Jake Delhomme.
Okay, I can see that because there was some hype there when he came over from Carolina. I can give you that.
Seneca Wallace.
I was just gonna say Seneca, but I don't know if you can do that. You had Seneca. You had Jason Campbell. I think he played
Jason Campbell
games.
He was in there.
Yeah,
RG3.
RG3. Yes.
Brad Lewis. Josh McCown. Austin Davis. Deshaun Kaiser.
I'm getting depressed.
Geez. I mean, there's a bunch we're still missing. I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now.
I'm sure I could look it up right now. We're gonna go to break here soon because I am down this rabbit hole. Hold on. God, Wikipedia is gonna make me depressed. Oh my God. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna split the screen here. Okay, so we have since 2007, Derek Anderson, Charlie Fry. Oh, you only played in the one game you went to. Brady Quinn, Ken Dorsey.
Oh my gosh,
Bruce Gradkowski. I don't remember.
Colt McCoy.
That's gotta be 5. Yeah, it's gotta be 5.
Yep.
Seneca Wallace, Brandon Whedon, Connor Shaw, Austin Davis.
You're not even the worst one. Cody
Kevin
Kessler.
Hogan. Case. Okay, it cuts off. Oh, Kevin Hogan never played for. Okay, he did actually. Yeah. So you people you Browns fans who really complained about Baker, who really complained about Jacoby, who complained about Deshaun this year. I know we're past these days. Remember these days. Really remember these days, and really remember what it was like. How much you had to suffer. How much you had to go through.
Or don't. I don't like to.
That's true. You could do that too. All right. So we'll go be right back here after this break here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Hey there, folks. This is Mitch Spinell, and I want to give you guys a quick message regarding 988. If you don't know what 988 is, it was created to make it easier to remember how to get help in the event of a mental health or addiction crisis. This is different than a medical, fire, or police emergency where 911 should still be called immediately. 988 connects you with Stark County's Crisis Center, which is equipped to help people in emotional distress or experiencing a mental health or addiction crisis. So remember, 911 for medical, fire, and police emergency help, and 988 for support in overcoming a mental health crisis in Stark County.
Are you trying to increase your speed, quickness, vertical leap, and agility? If so, NST Sports Performance is for you. NST trains athletes ages 5 through pro. NST designs each program specific to the athlete's needs, goals, and sports. For more, visit nstsports.com. Locations in North Canton and New Philadelphia. It's nstsports.com. aubantitlehomes.com.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Alban Title has over 100 years of combined experience handling real estate, title, and escrow transactions. They serve Tuscarawas, Stark, Carroll, Harrison counties, and more. So choose Alban Title for your next home refinance, sale, or purchase. They'll get it done quickly and professionally. Contact Alban Title at 330-334-5800 or visit their website aubanttitle.com. Let them put their experience to work for you.
Hard work is something you're accustomed to. Van Nostrand Young understands that principle. Our access is achieved with organizations like Grange Insurance. Safety and prevention specialists utilize our VanCan assessments process to ensure that you and your colleagues are in the best hands. You want the safest environment for your business, and we can guide you there.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
If you're purchasing a new home, the team at Hartzler's Quality Housing is here to help. Take advantage of record low interest rates to make your new home a reality. Locally owned and operated since 1978, Hartzler's Quality Housing has the experience to guide you through the process. You'll find a wide selection of model homes on site to fit any budget. Open 6 days a week just off I-77. You can also visit them online at hartzlers.com. Hartzler's Quality Housing. Quality from start to finish.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level low. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
All right, we're back here on the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Mitch Spinell, Mitch Ballard. Mitch, before we get into our final topic, I need to bring up the screen here because you and I both need to be able to purchase this shirt at some point. Can we get homage in on a design on this shirt of most handsome manager in the American League? We have Terry Francona of the Guardians. This was the shirt that they're wearing in spring training today.
How is that not a giveaway item? Like the Guardians organization here is dropping the ball. That would be a phenomenal giveaway item. Just make it Tito Appreciation Night, or most handsome men appreciation night, and just it's the ballpark filled with a bunch of guys being dudes wearing that shirt. Just a great marketing opportunity and giveaway night that the Guardians so far have dropped. Maybe that's one they added to the season, Mitch. You never know. They can always add ones.
Yeah, and I think the best part, if they did this as a giveaway, they cannot change one iota of this shirt. Make it the exact same design, same basic. You go on to spreadshirt.com and you make a shirt like this, or whatever the site is, and just make it exactly like this. The 99-cent shirt. Just make it exactly like this.
Wait, what if they put them on a scooter?
Well, I mean, you could do that, but there's something about this profile we're seeing right now.
That's true.
From Terry. There's just something about it that really draws the ladies wild. But yeah, that'd be a great idea to have like a giveaway, guys being dudes night. You reduce the beer down to 10 cents, and we're all good. So anyway, our final segment here.
Beer night.
Yeah. Part two, final segment here. We talk about some college basketball. I mean, we haven't covered a lot of college basketball this year, mainly because Ohio State's not good. That's actually not true. But, it is true. They haven't been.
Stop it right now. They suck.
No. No, the joke I was going to say was that's not the only reason that they're bad. And I realized what I said. And I said, oh, yeah, they're actually still pretty bad. They're 13-17, but they've won 2 in a row. They beat number 21 Maryland last night. So that's a consolation, 73-62. We're basically just playing for the NIT at this point, unless you can somehow make a huge run and win the Big Ten postseason tournament. You never know. But we're all aware. But yeah, we're just kind of looking at the standings right now. We're seeing Purdue, Indiana, and Maryland going to make it as well. Michigan and Iowa also in that mix. But then we have I've been looking up some bracketology stuff here in the last couple of weeks, and we see a number of the teams that will be competing here in the upcoming tournament. The top teams right now, we mentioned Houston is number 1 on the season. They're 27-2, kind of taking advantage of their conference, a la Gonzaga. Then you have Alabama, Kansas, and UCLA as 2, 3, and 4. Purdue coming in at number 5. Kansas, to me, Mitch, really does seem like that sort of blue blood team that is really dangerous compared to a lot of these upstarts like Houston, Alabama, even UCLA. I'm not sure if they're going to be as competitive as Kansas, even though they're right behind them. But at the same time, they won the championship last year, and I could see them easily going back to repeat. This is my team right now if I had to pick a bracket.
Yeah, listen, there's 3 teams I'm keeping an eye on, Mitch. Kansas is the first team because you mentioned this is a team that won last year. They're looking to repeat this year. But Mitch, we've seen it before as Ohio State fans and, a team in the Big Ten. When your conference is good, it's all about the conference. And oh my gosh, there was the one year it was like almost every single team in the Big Ten was going to make the tournament. Well, that is the Big 12 this year. And Kansas still just won the outright Big 12 championship. They're battle tested. They have a ton of talent. One of the top coaches in the country in Bill Self. This is a team I do not want to see. Obviously, they lost the most outstanding player of the tournament last year in OJ Abaji, who the Cavs drafted and traded in that Donovan Mitchell trade. I don't want to see them, but the other 2 teams, to your point, UCLA, actually, this is a team that still has their 2 best players from that Final Four run 2 seasons ago. That's why I don't want to rule them out yet. They're a team that I feel like is up top in the bracketology right now, but it's still flying under the radar. And, Tiger Campbell is a name immediately you think about UCLA. He has that wild hair. They have a number of other players out there. UCLA is a team I really like. And the 3rd team is actually Houston. Now, the Houston one, Mitch, is more for the storyline, right? So all the people out there, they're like, oh, it's rigged. It's a script. The NFL's on a script. Every sport's on a script. Okay, well, here's your script for you this year. Houston is going to be a number 1 overall seed. Mitch, the Final Four this year. That's right, is in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
The final year for Jim Nance on the call. He is an alum of, that's right, Houston. There's your script, folks. There's the one. If you want to think that the college basketball is rigged, a Houston alum is going to call his last Final Four in Houston, the host city, as his university is one of the top 4 seeds overall in the tournament that could play the Final Four in their home city.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Houston is very, very talented. Like, I think Houston is legit. I don't think I want to put them on the level of Gonzaga of they don't play anybody, they get in, they get knocked out, because Houston's made some deep runs in the past, Mitch. They really have. And when they weren't as highly ranked. So I believe in Houston, but I think it's Kansas, UCLA, and Houston are my top 3. Alabama, I just don't know. Purdue, here's the thing. Officials in every conference officiate games differently. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because they are hired by the conference, and every conference plays a different style of basketball. The Big Ten is physical, but we have seen this before with big guys, and that's why I'm alluding to Purdue. Zach Edey is a very, very talented big man. A lot of fouls don't get called in the Big Ten. However, that officiating does change when you make the tournament. Now, I personally just don't think he fouls as often as other big guys you've seen in the past, Mitch. But all it's going to take for Purdue, a team that's still very young, Mitch, they have a lot of good guard play, but they're a young basketball team. What happens when their inside-out game is gone because Zach Edey gets into foul trouble? And that's why I don't know if I can necessarily buy Purdue. Earlier this season, I was buying stock, and I put a futures bet on them. I just don't know how confident I am in the team like that. But this, to me, you can make a case for about 5 or 6 teams being the number 1 seed in the tournament. And after that, Mitch, I won't be shocked at all if a team makes a deep run. There's a couple things you have to keep in mind. I believe it's the Mountain West has not won a tournament game now in the past 4 years. They're 0-8 every time a Mountain West team gets in there. So a team like San Diego State, can they flip that script? They're a team that's ranked inside the top 25 right now, but there's a lot of good teams out there. Somebody like Xavier, Villanova, Providence, UConn is a team people talk about as a dark horse, even though they're ranked inside the top 10 right now, Mitch. I'm so excited for March Madness because to me, it is, I gotta be careful how I say this because I told you in the fall, that's the best time of the year for sports fans in general. But to me, this is the best standalone time for a sporting event in sports, at least the first 2 weekends, right? Because once it gets down to the Elite Eight, Final Four national championship, you can kind of weed out the teams. But I always sit here and wonder which team is going to be the Butler with Gordon Hayward and Brad Stevens, or the Florida Gulf Coast, the Dunk or Lob City team. Which team are we going to be shocked that makes a run and wins a couple games, much like the Peacocks last year of why can't I think of the name all of a sudden? St. Peter's. St. Peter's Peacocks. St. Peter's. That was a team last year. Which team is it going to be this year? Could it be the Kent State Golden Flashers or the Akron Zips if they win the MAC? Could it be Cleveland State if they win the Horizon League tournament? I don't know. I wouldn't mind it, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And as much as I love Ohio State and as big of an Ohio State fan as I am, I often feel that when they're in the tournament, I cannot put my fandom aside, and I somehow talk myself into a way that they make it to the Final Four every year, which now that they won't be in it unless they win the Big Ten tournament, which they won't, I won't have to fight that, inner demon of me of being a fan and being a realist. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, people forget Kent State played Houston pretty closely early on in the season. They only lost by 5, and now the Flashes are.
Akron lost to UCLA close last year in the first round of the tournament.
Yes, yeah. And then 24-6, the Flashes are right now, and they'll play the Zips Friday night at 6. So I'll be looking at that while I'm at work. As far as Houston goes, yeah, we mentioned their only 2 losses of the year have been a 1.1 to Temple and a couple of points to Alabama, number 8 at the time. Now they're number 2. They beat Virginia, who was number 2 at the time. Now they're 13th. A lot of good teams in the mix. I'm curious as to what's happening in the one of the Big 12 teams. Iowa State's pretty much a lock for the upcoming tournament, but there was some news today that said that they dismissed one of their top scorers in Caleb Grill for not meeting team expectations. I mean, I'm very curious to see what'll be happening there. You also have a number of other schools that are also in this mix. I'm just looking up some stuff on bracketology right now. I mean, as far as the Big Ten teams go, I mentioned Michigan, but apparently they have some work to do, according to who was it? Jeff Gassaway John Gassaway at ESPN. Michigan's in there or in the mix. Iowa, Illinois probably will get in, but then you have your locks: Purdue, Indiana, Maryland, even though they just lost, Northwestern, and Michigan State. Yeah, I mean, Michigan State, you saw the loss that they had the other day, which I couldn't believe that they blew that one to Iowa, but I was just sinking shots at the end. What are you going to do? It happens. Not a lot of representation in the Pac-12, it seems. UCLA and Arizona are the only 2 that's guaranteed. USC and Arizona. Arizona is the last team in, according to bracketology right now. It's them.
That's crazy.
It's them, Wisconsin, Boise State, and Mississippi State. You also have North Carolina, Oklahoma State, Clemson, and Michigan as the first 4 out. North Carolina was a little disappointed this year. I think last year was a sense of like a really great tournament run rather than a great team. With all credit to Hubie Davis, that man coached them to a near championship. Thought they could beat Kansas, they didn't, and now I think they're coming back down to earth. But I'm excited, man. This is gonna be good. We got the postseason coming up in a couple weeks. My favorite memory of childhood over the years was always being around the state tournament in basketball for high school in Ohio while the NCAA tournament was going on, because you would have the first week where it would just be like you would watch every single game in the first round, and then you get to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, where you would see that happen over the weekend. And it used to be down. We used to be down in Columbus for the state tournament. Now it's in Dayton, but I always like to have those two kind of going on different times, watching the high school kids compete for the state title while also checking the games to see who's going to be advancing. And I remember the one year where it was 4 teams from Ohio made the Sweet 16: Ohio State, Dayton, Xavier, and Ohio University. And my cousin was actually a cheerleader on Ohio U's program at the time.
Yeah, this is always, to me, I agree, because I would always do the same thing. I know when Jackson made a run for the state championship in basketball back in 2010, I remember going down there, and Kentucky was playing when I was inside Value City Arena. I remember seeing that. I think I was getting like a hot dog or pizza or something, but it was always, okay, what teams play at what time? What class am I in currently in school? And how can I watch this game on my phone in the middle of class without getting into trouble? And I'll never forget, in Spanish class, there was a group of us, and we'd all have the app on our phone. We'd all have a different game pulled up and have like giant books. Like
Yes.
we had no need for books. We'd have more books on our desk ever than before. And you'd take your phone, you just kind of set it right there, acting like you're paying attention, but you're really not. You're watching the game, you're nudging the guy next to you, you're like, look. And I'll never forget, I was in Spanish class the year Dayton beat Ohio State in March Madness. And I was so upset because that was the year I had Ohio State going to the Final Four. And I said something, and then my teacher caught me and I got in trouble. But you know, it is what it is. It was always a fun little, like, okay, how can I watch this game? Then how am I going to watch it on the bus home, or how quick can I get home? What time's baseball practice today? Because I got to be able to watch these games. So, you know, now as just somebody that works from home full time, it's awesome. You got 4 screens going on while you're working from home. You're watching college basketball and you're having a great time.
My best, really quick, my best memory of watching a game in class was in college when I was in an art class for whatever reason, in game 5 of the 2016 ALCS was on, and it was in the 9th inning. The class was winding down, and when the Indians were taking on the Blue Jays, and then the class ends. So I have to get, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do, because I'm sitting there alone in this classroom that's been deserted by everybody, including the professor. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, what am I doing? It's the 9th inning. There's no outs. I run outside the classroom. I go down to the student center. I saw there was a bunch of people huddled around one TV. So I went over to the thing, saw the final out. And then once Santana makes that catch, everybody just, starts hooting and hollering. And I was high-fiving people, hugging people, didn't even know them, but I was just so amazed to see that they actually were able to do what they were able to do. And that was a great day. It was probably a weird picture of me sprinting down to the student center while everyone was wondering what's going on with this kid. But it was a good time. And I hope you guys had a good time here. Yeah, exactly. I hope you had a good time on the Big Time Sports Podcast show. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking more about some of the stuff that's been going on in the tournament and elsewhere. And I already mentioned all the stuff at the top of the show. So Mitch, what is our fact of the day?
Well, your fact of the day is kind of also just, a statement. A very happy belated birthday to the great state of Ohio that yesterday, Mitch, turned 220 years old. Ohio celebrated its 220th birthday on March 1st when it became a state in 1803. There's your fact of the day.
220 years old.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Ohio. Now you can drink. All right. So thanks once again for listening or watching to the Big Time Sports Podcast show.